I just finished this piece of furniture behind me. It is my grandmother's piece that I am so excited to share with you, but it was a journey. It was not a 2-day project. Like normally I have projects that just take a couple of days. This was not. And I want to share details with you because I made some mistakes that I would like for you to avoid. These two pieces that you see right here are both my grandmother's, and they are from the same set of the dining room. I have painted with all kinds of paint, milk paint, chalk paint, cabinet paint. I mean, I have upgraded my cabinets. Let me see. I actually painted those cabinets. They used to be dark, and this paint has made a major difference. My daughter has said, you probably should have had a painting company by now, Mom, like for real. It up levels anything you want in a very inexpensive way. And I want to talk to you about paint. My name is Cynthia, and I am with Bliss Home and Garden. When we bought the house, it came with accessible beige. And accessible beige is a great color, even for coastal decor. It actually does really work well. It's kind of a sandy tone. But I wanted a more airy feel, so I changed this to a white color. And I am so glad it did because the way the light reflects, it does give it a different vibe. I'm going to make a complete different video to show you the difference between the paints and talk about white paint in general, because I have painted several homes in different colors of whites, and I can tell you a lot about it. My mother and I have discussed, well, should we keep this as natural as possible, restore it by a professional? I think that if you have a piece that is in pristine condition, you should definitely think about that. But if your pieces are broken, all 4 of the doors had appliques, they were broken. In my case, I had come to this conclusion that this was sentimental value. I worked with this piece exactly as it was given to me for a long time. I had stemware on there and I really used it, but I eventually got sick of it. I wanted to change it to my coastal vibe in this house that I have, and I used a Van Dusen Blue by Benjamin Moore with a paint line called Advance. Advance is a fantastic cabinet paint, and I've used it in my sister-in-law's house. I've also used it in my own pantry. I've used it several times, and I know that this is quality paint. One of the reasons that I love it is because it has an amazing smooth finish. It is self-leveling, so you don't need to wax it or do anything else. Let's now talk about this beautiful piece, which gave me so much trouble, and it was not easy. I went ahead and did everything as usual, took it out to the garage, sanded it, cleaned it, prepped it, and did the whole 9 to get it ready to paint. I really do like how the top of the piece came out. So if you notice, it kind of imitates a little bit how wood grain actually is, but it's actually half of Annie Sloan and half of accessible beige that was left there by the people before. And then I had a little bit of mineral paint that I had played with to make these stripes, and so I kind of like went on a back and forth motion with a dry brush, and then I actually decided to use some water to smooth out the paint and make it look more natural as best as possible. I had been to several of the stores that had coastal furniture and was inspired and really wanted to do kind of a textured vibe. But oh my gosh, the more that I worked on this piece, the worse and worse that it got. I guess at that point it didn't look horrible, but it didn't ever look right. So I kept working on it. I kept trying. I kept just trying different methods: dry, wet, smoothing, whitewashing, just everything. I gave it some texture, and actually up close it looks good, but look at that. I think it looks kind of murky and it didn't look right, even though the applique looked good and certain parts of it looked good. Overall, I just wasn't satisfied and I just felt like it wasn't right. I ended up leaving the legs, and as hard as I worked on this piece and tried different effects that actually looked good in some parts, the whole piece was just not speaking to me, and I didn't want it anymore like that. As much as it pained me, I started over. I just painted it in Annie Sloan Old White. The original drawers had the original applique. My husband was like, try to keep those into the design. And I tried and I didn't like it. I decided to just rip them off and go ahead and sand. After looking at the piece, I decided that if I made those frame lines more prominent, it kind of looked more modern. So I went ahead and did that. I used a black paint that I had on hand called iron ore. You could probably use any kind of paint. And I detailed this paint into those grooves. And so what I did is I put the paint in the grooves and then I wiped it down. This is where I realized I don't really love Annie Sloan Chalk Paint. It is so messy as far as like the lines. It does not self-level well, and it was just whenever I wiped it down, I would start like wiping it off, which I guess if you're trying to do some vintage pieces, maybe that works, but for me, working with this more modern look, I did not really like it. So if you have any advice on painting furniture or paint in general, anything that could be helpful, make sure that you post it in the comments below. Finally, this piece started to look good and speak to me. I added some removable wallpaper on the inside of the doors. Because there was this little blemish on here, I kind of wanted to do something. Even I wanted to do a decoupage, but I wasn't ready to go for that yet. I'm going to put this temporary contact wallpaper. This is so straightforward. You clean the piece, you start by cutting a piece that's a little bit larger than the door, and then you peel it off and put it on basically like contact paper. So it is removable wallpaper that I got at Joann's. I was going to use it for another project, so if I had known that I was going to do something like this, I might have gotten more fun wallpaper, but take the bubbles off and just do the thing like you would add basically a contact paper. It is so simple. This is a nice temporary solution. So I wanted to try it and I didn't want to commit to anything. You basically just cut everything to size. Use guidelines like this to make sure that you have smooth edges. And to ensure this was going to stick, I just went ahead and smoothed it with a sanding block, and that was it. I put the doors back on, I put the new hinges on there. I just went ahead and finished the piece. And I bought some handles at Amazon that I will link in the description because these are super cool and they made the whole piece more modern. But look at this. In this one, I have it's my buffet. It's actually where I have my plates, and I have cups and silverware, napkins, tablecloths, and my whole bunch of tea. So here's liquor right here. It's our liquor cabinet, Grandma, sorry. But hey, Grandma drank her tequila, so that's all right. So we will actually be using these two pieces. Can we talk about this photo for a second? Believe it or not, this photo was actually taken on my smartphone. So many of us have really nice smartphones that take good quality photos. If you want to print one, like maybe you want to blow it up, I am going to put the link to the company that did that for me. It's called appliques, but I'm going to link it in the description. I'm not affiliated with them, but I think it's so nice that we can go ahead and maybe once in a while we find a spectacular photo that we took on our phone and make it come alive like this. I tell you what though, I am so excited to be out of my painting clothes because I have a whole set of clothes whenever I paint. And I am very excited that this is finally done and I can use it. And remember, you can create bliss at home and in the garden.